The way that you see yourself affects your whole reality. This is one of the most important realizations that I've ever had in my life. I want to give you a quick assignment before we get into this video. And that is to keep an open mind and an open heart with some of the things that I talk about in this video. Some of it might come across a little bit esoteric, a little bit on the mystical side, but like I always say, consume the meat and spit out the bones, and this goes for me too. And some of these concepts might be like a seed that is planted, and you might not even think about it until years down the road, when maybe you're going through something, maybe a dark night of the soul, maybe you are having an existential crisis of some kind. So, let's get into it. The way you see yourself is the way that you perceive the world. It will be the lens of which your whole experience happens. A lot of us, if not all of us, once we get past our childhood and we let go of our innocence, we are immersed into the abyss, the void of fear, the void of judgment, both within and without, judgment of self and others. And we suffer a lot because we are deep in the throes of the ego. And a majority of people, they might get glimpses of higher dimensions, might experience something profound, maybe when your child is born, maybe when you lose a loved one, they die, maybe you watch them pass away. For that brief moment, you touch something that seems to sort of transcend the physical, but you don't know how to explain it. And I remember when I was a little kid, I always had this void within me. I always had this longing, almost like a homesickness. And as I grew into adulthood, I still had that feeling, as many of us do. And I just thought that it would go away over time as I pursued my goals, as I pursued my identifications of being a man, pursuing achievements and wanting to be in good shape and get with women and create things, and all that stuff is fine. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But I remember even as a young man being frustrated because as I would reach goals and things, it's like that void was always there. I would get moments of relief, then that void was still there. And then being raised in a religious Christian home, my parents, they meant well, for sure. They did their best, but they would always say things like, once you accept Jesus into your heart, that's the only thing that will fill that void. And I was all in, man. I identified as a Christian my whole life. I asked Jesus into my heart like every other month because I was so scared of going to hell. And, just being raised in religion like that. And I also remember my parents would say, it's not religion, it's a relationship. But honestly, the definition of religion in a lot of ways, how you know you're in religion is when you believe that you have found the way and other religions are wrong, but your religion is right. That is like the embodiment of spiritual ego, latching on to religion and making the rest of the world wrong. Anyway, I digress. So, what really was a game changer for me with facing this void and feeling like the world was just like this dark place was meditation. Hear me out for a minute. When you think of meditation, you think of just sitting there, being bored, focusing on your breath. And that's how it starts out, okay? But I'm telling you, if you start sticking with it, you will start to brush shoulders with something. Something compassionate, benevolent, infinite wisdom. And this is oftentimes what we try to put into language of what we call God. But even that just doesn't do it justice, because when you connect with that, it transcends language. And so meditation, psychedelics even, for people that are frustrated with meditation and they can't seem to go deeper, sometimes psychedelics, something like mushrooms or ayahuasca, can help you break that barrier and see what is truly possible and what is on the other side. And oftentimes, if you do it with intention, you won't need to take psychedelics anymore, because you realize, oh my God, I communicated with this higher essence. I felt one with this thing that is somehow also me at the same time. And how I define that now is God. If you view God, you can call it source, higher intelligence, whatever you want to call it. If you view it as the ocean, okay? And essentially what you are is a drop from that ocean. An individual, unique drop from that ocean. Basically a fractal of the whole. But as a drop of the ocean, you're still just as much the ocean as the ocean itself. And here's the concept, okay? I'm going to start with a concept that might be a little bit easier to understand. Everything we go through, every bit of pain, every bit of suffering, is on purpose. It is so that way your soul can learn the lessons that it needs to learn. And on the next level, you signed up for this. You just don't remember. There's something called the veil of forgetfulness, where essentially, as a soul who is connected to the all, you look down, you see this planet, you see the capability to learn, to grow, to go through suffering, to experience beauty and pain in the full spectrum, and you look at that and you're like, okay, I'm signing up for this intense video game. And you sign up, you're born, and you forget the essence of who you are. And you get this feeling of homesickness, this feeling of like there's a void within you, like you're something more somehow. And the ego is the gift that allows us to experience this reality. Because if you knew fully who you were from the get-go, and it was vivid and clear, then you would probably just fuck around, and you wouldn't take any of this seriously. So, before any of this, you sign up, you choose your parents, you choose your culture, you choose all of it. And if I would have heard this a year ago, I would have thought that that was complete bullshit. But then, in some of my deeper meditations and psychedelic experiences, I remembered. I had what you would call a remembrance. And this is also very similar to what they call near-death experiences, an NDA. I've listened to so many near-death experiences, and there are common threads in every single one. And I always thought that they were pretty, interesting, but I didn't really buy into it. I was just like, okay, that's hard to believe. But then through meditation and psychedelics, I had an experience. And when the conceptual becomes experiential, it's a game changer. There's no longer argument. There's just a knowing. And you start to live your life very differently. So all that being said, the way you view yourself is the way that you will view the world, and it affects your whole experience. And what I have learned is this physical reality is a mirror It is a mirror of what you have going on within you. And so if you are constantly reflecting to this mirror pain, judgment, fear, sadness, doomsday fatalism, then this is what it's going to reflect back to you. So a lot of people in religion that believe in like the end times, where the apocalypse is near, our God is going to break through the clouds with a giant flaming sword and punish everyone who doesn't agree with us. That is their reality. And they're going to see evidence of that everywhere they look. That's saying that you are made in the image of God. It is very true. If you believe that this world is full of darkness and people are shitty and all that matters is your own selfish desires, fuck everybody else, then that's going to be what you're going to see, man. That is going to be your reality. It's almost like we were born it's almost like we were born into a dimension that is like the highest level of hell. It's like this constant hum of anxiety and fear and worry and judgment. And when you're immersed in that, it's hell. But then on the flip side, what's possible is like the lowest dimension of heaven, where when you break the veil and you understand that you're not separate from everyone else, and when you look into the eyes of another person, you somehow see a reflection of yourself. And if you've done the inner work and you've learned how to love yourself in a deep way, then it's impossible not to love other people. Whether it's a multimillionaire or a homeless man on the street, you'll look into their eyes and you won't just see this other ego, this other character, this other individual that you have to be fearful of. You see the deeper essence within them. So imagine for a second living life in this kind of reality. And religion, they have a piece of it, right? But they're obsessed with constantly having a savior that's outside of them. But imagine for a second, in whatever religion that you may be, imagine if you operated as if you were Krishna or Buddha or the Christ. Imagine if you were that. How you would live life, how you would treat people, how you would treat yourself. You would treat everything with a reverence, with a level of sacredness and love. Now, a lot of esoteric, mystical stuff. When you start to embody these things, then you're actually able to play this game, the game of the ego, the game of the character of whoever you are, the character of Ryan. I have goals, I have things that I am working towards. But my grasp on it is no longer a death grip. I'm open-handed with it. When you have an open hand, you're able to also receive in this life. If you're constantly grasping and you're holding on, there's only so much that you can do. And there's just this rigidity. There's this fear, a fist, it's like anger. But if you can open up your hand, then the way that the external world and physical reality plays with you will be very different. It took me 30 years to learn this. And just over the last couple years, my entire reality has shifted simply from the understanding of these things. When you are moving from a place of being, and you embody this, and your default is peace, and you're kind of in a flow state. I'm in a flow state right now speaking to you. But in my day-to-day, I am in a flow state. I don't think about it. The moment that you're like, I'm in a flow state, the mind swoops in and it's easy to get kicked out of that flow state. But when you're in it, you're very carefree, you're very loving, you're operating at your best. So, these are all things that I want you to think about. I want you to consider. I want you to learn how to look into the mirror of reality. And instead of holding up a fist, instead of being angry, start smiling. And the world around you will begin to shift. There is a time delay. If you've lived your whole life in fear and anger and bitterness and resentment and separation, it's going to take some time for that shift to happen, because in this reality, that's how it works. Things don't just change overnight in this physical reality. You have to take a step of faith and start allowing yourself to feel these things before the external world changes. You know, oftentimes people talk about manifestation, and it's less about the thing you're trying to manifest and more about the sensation and the feeling that you would think that you would have once you achieve that thing, which isn't necessarily true. And meditation, going within, rubbing shoulders with the divine, getting glimpses of who you truly are, you'll start to experience levels of bliss and levels of peace that will naturally begin to lend themselves to those things that you wanted to achieve to begin with. I used to think these things were bullshit. They are not bullshit. I am experiencing them in my day-to-day reality now, and it is unbelievable. And once you experience this, you want everyone else to experience it too. That separation goes away, and you want others to enjoy this reality, to have a good life, to express their own individual creativity, because the world will benefit from that. Even hearing this, the ego will want to view it as an achievement. I need to get good at meditation ASAP. I need to become more spiritual. But there has to be a deep letting go. Just allow yourself to be on the path. And there's an unfolding and a process. You already have all the ingredients within you. Simply just by being able to receive a message like this and to begin seeking, that in and of itself can begin to shift your life, to shift your reality. And I'll say it again, evolution isn't what the ego thinks it is. It's not just leveling up and becoming better than the next person. It's actually shedding a lot of identities, shedding the identity of your race, the identity of your gender, the identity of your interests and the things that you think make you uniquely you. Letting those things go a little bit and realizing that there is a uniqueness within you that transcends that. It's a unique piece of the divine, a unique piece of that ocean that we were talking about. You could use the metaphor maybe of a snowflake. Every snowflake is incomprehensibly intricate and unique, but it's just water. And we are all that. And I hope that in this lifetime you come to some of these realizations, because you become awake in the matrix essentially, and reality becomes really fun right where you're at. Whether you're a homeless man or a multimillionaire, and then you can begin to consciously shift your reality and consciously play this game and create what you want to create, while loving yourself and every fucking being that you encounter in the process. This is real. I'm completely sober right now, by the way. Not tripping balls. I wouldn't be driving if I was. If you enjoy these topics and you want to dive deeper, consider joining the Conscious Men community. It's a whole community of men. We talk about things like this every week, spirituality, but then we also get into other fun aspects of physical reality, like cold approaching women, and fitness, and building businesses that you enjoy. It's just a great community. I feel very blessed and fortunate to be a part of it, and it all was birthed from this YouTube channel. So that's all I got for you tonight. If some of this stuff is far out, like the concept that you chose your parents and you chose your upbringing and all the things that you went through, even the dark, heavy shit, I know that's hard to accept, but your soul knew exactly what it needed to experience to increase the chances of you learning what you came to learn in this lifetime. But if that stuff's difficult for you to accept right now, it's okay. Consume the meat, spit out the bones, and these are just some seeds that are being planted right now that maybe you'll circle back to later when you need them. You are loved, you matter, and you have barely scratched the surface of what you're capable of. I'll talk to you soon.
Listen.